morning, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Reopen Ohio, Create and Leverage Your Online Presence and Social Impact. This webinar is brought to you by the President's Council, and my name is Erica Pinnick, the Executive Director. Today's webinar is designed for direct question and answer and to create an environment that is truly interactive. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the President's Council website. We also encourage and welcome the opportunity to connect via phone, email, and web chat. Before we get started, please note your video should be automatically turned off and devices muted. If not, please do so at this time. As you have questions or comments, please insert it in the Q&A thread, and we will pause frequently to respond. If you have a question or comment for a presenter, please click the raise your hand button, and we will pause to recognize you. At that time, we ask that your device be unmuted and your video turned on. Today's expert presenters are Naveen Bansal, President and CEO of Outreach Promotional Solutions. Outreach Promotional Solutions is a highly experienced and sophisticated team of marketers, designers, and innovative thinkers whose services include promotional product solutions, digital, graphic, and web design, as well as social media and communications content development and management. Nooch Langzer, co-founder and chief marketing guru of Local Biz Guru, an SEO and digital marketing agency specializing in helping small businesses increase their online presence. Services include web hosting and maintenance, web design and development, paid research marketing and retargeting, local SEO marketing, and social media marketing. Naveen and Nooch, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
As we reopen our doors to a new normal of doing business, now more than ever, businesses, particularly small businesses, need effective digital marketing solutions, a dynamic web presence, and an intuitive client engagement platform. Robbie Terry Washington, the president and CEO of RTW Exact, which is a financial management firm, asks, how do you create steps? What key steps are there to create a new book of business for online training?
So, Nooch, you want to take this one first?
Sure. So I'm going to assume that this question is, we're actually going to be answering this question from a marketing perspective. First and foremost, you obviously, when you're creating online content for sale, you need to establish yourself as a thought leader in your industry. Okay, and by doing that, you have the credibility to then leverage to get people on board with your program, and that is most efficiently done by creating high value content and disseminating it and actually giving it out for free. Gary Vaynerchuk from VaynerMedia, he's one of the foremost experts today on social media. He wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. The gist of it is basically jab, jab, jab. In order to actually land the knockout, you have to give constant value, give great content, give something without thinking about taking in return. It's only after you've established and you establish yourself as a source for the value that you provide, then you can do the ask, and then you can leverage that expertise. So it's that can be done from an organic standpoint, creating those high value pieces of content, whether it be blog, white paper, case studies, video content, any medium you decide to use, and disseminate it on the channels that your target audience frequents. So if it's a business to business, you're going to want to be on LinkedIn. If there's any forums that your target audience is hanging out, that's where you want to establish yourself as that thought leader. And then alternatively, you can do the paid route. Once you have the content, you can actually go out and then market and pay for marketing on the social media channels again that your target audience hangs out. The benefit there is you can then do a retargeting campaign where you can stay top of mind and constantly be found in their social media feeds. So between the organic and the inorganic side of the equation, you can market yourself. But again, it's establishing yourself as that expert and thought leader in your industry by providing constant value.
Yeah, real quick, I just have a couple comments on that. So I have kind of 3 steps here in this specific situation. If you already have an online training business developed, you want to make sure that first thing you want to do is make sure that your online training modules or whatever products you're offering have a good landing spot. So maybe you have a website, a web page that has those modules on it. You want to make sure that's professionally designed, put together, easy to get to. So once you have that landing spot developed, now you got to figure out, okay, who's your target customer for this training? And so that is beyond digital, that's an overall marketing strategy conversation. It's okay, based on those training modules that you have put together, what's the profile of that customer and where can you find them? And so once you know the profile, where to find them, now you got to develop some targeted messaging and marketing efforts to be able to reach that customer and drive them to that training module on your website. And Nooch mentioned that, it might include LinkedIn, Facebook, some social media efforts. And he said it exactly right. You want to give away a little bit, at least some of it free, because, that preview of that training or that ability to be able to kind of see it in person is going to be more impactful than any kind of marketing messaging you give. So giving away a little bit, where people see it and say, oh, this is really interesting or this is valuable. Now they're more apt to be able to say, hey, I should get this or I should start doing this for my business. And then you want to finally, last thing is, being able to track those visitors and be able to kind of see that they're coming in and viewing those previews and looking at this information. There's tools to be able to do that. And once you do that, now you want to get your sales team involved to be able to actually, reach back out to those folks, and make sure you're following up with them. So those are kind of the things that I would do.
Do either of your businesses offer free research evaluation?
Yes, I know Local Biz Guru, we definitely do. In fact, if you go on our website, localbizguru.com, there's a free audit tool where you can get take a temperature of your online presence locally, and then we'll sit down and go through it with you to see where you're doing well and where you can improve, and what measures need to be taken to increase your visibility. But absolutely, we do free evaluations.
Likewise, same thing. We're able to offer those fee evaluations. I mean, for us, it's really just taking a look at their overall marketing plan, identifying how digital fits in, and other aspects as well, but identifying how digital fits in, and then doing that evaluation of, their current profile, whether it's through the website, social, search, all those different aspects, and being able to come up with those things that they should be doing to be able to move forward.
And so Rashida Van Leer, she owns a personal training boutique, and she's asking, how can a business turn engagement into revenue?
Yeah, so I guess I could take this one first if you like, Nooch.
Yeah.
So basically, when you talk about engagement, what we're talking about here, I'm assuming, is, we're talking about folks that are engaging with the website, they're engaging with content on social media, they're starting to get some interest in the business and the products and services and the brand. And so, one of the biggest challenges of marketing is, what's that ROI? How do I know that engagement is leading to revenue, like this question says? And that is always a hard thing with marketing. It's, people, if you don't look at the analytics, it can be hard to really identify that. So a couple things you can do here is make sure that, number one is that you've got your website and other things put together where you have calls to action. And so make sure that if folks are engaging with your content, they're able to click through on that content, get to a spot where they can actually do business with you, fill out a contact form, sign up for your newsletter, view your products and services, request a demo, all these different ways that you can get folks to engage with you to actually hopefully purchase from you. A second step is, taking that outbound approach. So that was an inbound approach. That's, where you're driving folks in to really interact with you. The outbound approach is you've got a lot of folks engaging, you can see, whether it's through social media, you can see who's engaging with you. Whether it's through utilizing technology nowadays, you can actually track website visitors. You can actually see, how they're getting in, what they're doing, how they're engaging with your content. And now it's a matter of, like everything, like every business, it's a matter of pairing marketing and sales. They're two separate things, but being able to utilize this information on engagement and then now getting it to the sales team, whether it's the business owner or if you have a sales team, and having them now take action to be able to follow up and really smartly follow up, because now that you have more information, you now can, you're now armed with, potential ways that customer might be interested in you. And now it's a matter of, executing on that sales process to close the opportunities.
I would, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just to elaborate a little bit on what Naveen mentioned. He started out by saying, have calls to action, CTAs. I had a client who had a product, and his blog was actually the number one result for his line of products, and he was wondering, people are coming to the website, but I'm not getting sales. And I looked at the blog and I said, you don't have a call to action in that blog at all. There was absolutely no, so you've engaged the interest of a potential person. They had a certain, you are obviously addressing a certain pain point. Now make sure that you have a call to action. And when that call to action is actually engaged with, like that button on the page, make sure your landing page is dedicated to a conversion. You want to eliminate any of the other distractions from someone. When we do a campaign, we build a landing page. There's only two things you can do on that landing page. You can't even go to any other part of the website. You get to that landing page, it's either pick up the phone and call, or fill out a contact form, or whatever the conversion you're looking for. But you have to make sure that once they engage and they actually click, that you're not getting them confused or and they have to search for anything. It should be a very, very seamless process, and it's critical. It's absolutely critical. And then tracking all of your engagements with your Google Analytics and the other tools that Naveen mentioned is obviously going to help you adjust and evolve with the trends.
I know that both of you are very experienced with working with small businesses, and I'm sure you know that as a small business, often we don't have the budgets for a dedicated social media team or analytics team. So how do we get the results that we want and need with limited budgets?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple ways to do it. You can do it kind of in-house, or you can outsource. And so, if you're doing it in-house, if you decide you aren't able to afford to hire help on those kind of areas, there's definitely some quick things you can do to set up yourselves well to be able to market on a budget. And that includes kind of making sure that if you're doing social media, you want to make sure that you've got your platform set up properly with the right information. You want to make sure that you've built some content that we got Evergreen Content, which helps you, which basically is content that lives for a long time, that is, can talk about your branding, your story, your products and services, blog content, other things that you can do. And so all that kind of content can be developed. And if you develop the content, now you can actually approach social media more efficiently. One of the things that a lot of folks do when they have a tight budget on marketing and they're looking at getting into digital is they really work really hard on really creative custom content all the time. And, while that can be very valuable, that takes a lot of work and time. And if my recommendation is if you're getting to that point and you don't know how to do that stuff, that at that point, you want to either hire somebody in-house or outsource it to an expert.
Right. I'd like to add, if you're on a budget, you have to understand that budget doesn't just mean money. Budget means your time. So your time is money, in a sense. It's the most valuable commodity. And so if you can't afford financially to do something, you have to make the time to do it, whatever you do. But if you're on a limited financial budget, okay, one of the most important and most powerful signals on the local level to get local visibility is your Google My Business profile. Okay, it is a free profile, and it is the most powerful way to actually influence Google's algorithm. Okay, it's a direct pipeline into the Google algorithm, and so you can actually manipulate it and leverage it to your advantage. And so claiming that Google My Business profile and optimizing it properly, and I would recommend utilizing every facet that Google My Business profile affords you. So constantly add pictures, weekly put a small post on your Google My Business profile. These Google posts, anything between 80 to 100 words. It doesn't have to be extensive, but it should incorporate some of the key word phrases that you want to be found for. This is going to seed the information into the Google algorithm, so that when somebody is searching for your goods and services, Google knows that you're a legitimate source for those things. Another budget-friendly tactic is email. There's pound for pound. There's no more effective return on investment than email, even today. So don't overlook the value of email. So whatever you're doing, always collect the email addresses, and then make sure you can do a newsletter. But emailing is a very, very cost-efficient way of marketing on a budget. And then I would say video. Video is the content medium of choice in today's day and age. Everybody is engaging with video. You get exponentially more engagement with video than you do just about in any other tactic. And if you have a cell phone, you have a video, a video recorder with a minimal investment of, just use your own cell phone, get yourself a tripod, a mic, and some decent lighting, and you're good to go. You can put up some, effective. It doesn't have to have this professionalism that everybody thinks that they need. The raw video actually resonates more with people than the professional polished ones, because it's authentic, and that's the most important thing. As a brand, you want to convey authenticity. Okay, people don't like doing business with business. People like doing business with people, and so if you can convey that and you can humanize your company through video, It's a very, very inexpensive proposition at the outset. And then as you improve and your business grows, you can invest into getting better and better and more polished. But the entry level is very, very, very small as far as the budget works.
I know in preparation for today, you all shared with us some insights of things we don't even know we don't know. So why don't you start walking us through some strategies that we could take to improve our web presence and social impact?
Yeah, so when you're looking at your online presence, there's obviously a ton of things that can be done, but when we talk to our clients and we talk to folks, you want to look at three big things. I kind of mentioned one of them already, but the first one is your website. And so, in most cases, almost every business, that's really kind of your first impression for your customers and prospects. A lot of the marketing activities you're taking, you're going to take them back to your website. And so, if you're spending, your time and money into, paid ads, social media, other efforts, if your website is not put together, if it doesn't have the right content, if it's not visually appealing, it's not modern, mobile friendly, all those different aspects, then you're doing your brand and your company a disservice. And a lot of folks, when they see a website, they get an impression of, is this a reputable company? Is this a company that I want to do business with? Do I have trust, for the company? And so there's a lot of things that you can do with your website around, the content, the brand, the structure, the design, all those different things. So that's the first one I would do, is do you look at your website. The second thing, and I kind of mentioned it in terms of your budget, is building content. And I'm focusing, because a lot of us are wearing a lot of hats, small business owners, professionals are wearing a lot of hats, focusing on building that evergreen content. What I mentioned on evergreen is that this is basically content that lives for a long time. It's a really efficient way and effective way to drive an interest and engagement with your website and other aspects of your business. And so you might build evergreen content. It might focus on testimonials and case studies. It might focus on your services and solutions. You might build some content that focuses on your team and leadership, your brand, community, your partnerships, your history, any other stories around your business. So building some themes that really resonate with your business and utilizing those themes to build your content that goes on social media platforms, that can go on your blog, that can go within your website, that can go and even how you talk, to a one-on-one prospect. Building that content out will once you do that, it takes some upfront work to do that. But once you do that, now you've got a really good tool set of content that you can utilize in a number of different ways to drive folks in. And so that's the second thing. The third is maintaining consistent branding and design. So when we talk about branding in general, that's an overarching marketing theme, right? And so there's a lot of components to building a well-developed brand. What I'm talking about here is your online presence is your Google listing, your website, your social media platforms, your email marketing. Everything you're doing has represents your business online. So in a digital way. And so you want to make sure that you've got a consistent look and feel across those different platforms, that it's professional, it's well put together. People are absorbing your brand through all these different platforms, and you want to, when you do a consistent design and brand feel to it, it improves recall. It allows folks to remember and recognize that this relates well to what I just saw on a website or another post. It also creates a more professional and put together image, which can go a long way with folks when you're trying to build leads. And so improving the website, building that evergreen content, and then maintaining consistent branding and design across those platforms is what I would recommend.
I would add first and foremost, I definitely agree everything with Naveen just said. With regard to your website, you have to understand that your online presence, and most people that I run into think their online presence and social media are synonymous. And while social media does play a role in your online presence, it's by no means even close to the full extent of what comprises of your online presence. And the foundation of your online presence, like Naveen mentioned, is your website. And so, yes, I'll reiterate, optimize that website for SEO. Make sure it's mobilely responsive. Make sure it's got, it's optimized for speed. If you want to get sophisticated, optimize it for voice search. But the bottom line is it's got to be designed for the user. And so user experience needs to factor into that design. It's got to be appealing for the user, but it's also got to be able to be crawled and interpreted by the search engines. So that's absolutely critical. That's the foundation of your online presence. The other thing that I would mention is your business listings, what we call citations. One of the most overlooked aspects of your online presence is your business listings. Now, what are business listings? I'll give you an example. Facebook, your Google My Business presence, your Apple Maps, Yelp, your Bing business. There's many different apps and listings that have your business information. Okay, so your business information, which we in the industry call NAPW. NAP is name, address, phone number, and W is your website address. That information, in the same way that your branding that Naveen mentioned, has to be consistent across all the platforms, and it's got to resonate, right? And that gives you a level of trust and authenticity that people can recognize immediately. Well, the search engines do the same thing with your information. Okay, and so your business information has to be consistent across the web. And so it's very important that your name, address, and phone number and website address, if it allows it, is consistent across the web. That can be done manually on your own. There are services that can take care of it. There are some core ones, and then you can go, there are literally hundreds of business listings and citation sites. But the point is that consistency is going to actually help you. Whereas if it's inconsistent, and I see this all the time, where business information is actually even inconsistent on one's own website. The phone numbers are inconsistent. The address doesn't have consistency with the suite numbers. It can be a myriad of different things. If your business upgraded in the recent past and you've moved locations, well, now you have information on the web that talks about your business in location A where you started, and now you've upgraded to location B. Somebody looking for your business doesn't know where that is. Well, guess what? The search engines don't know either. So you have to make sure that information is consistent across the web. And it's not working against you, okay? And then the third aspect of your online presence, and it's one of the most important, and it's growing in importance on a daily basis, and it's often the first interaction and impression that that a potential client has with your business, is your reputation, okay? Your reviews, your online reviews, really need to be on par. It's a differentiator more often than not. If you've done it yourself, you're looking for goods or services, you get that local 3-pack in Google, and it gives you three selections. So who are you going to choose? More often than not, the one with the better review profile, the higher reviews, and the volume of the reviews, that's usually a differentiator and a game changer. And that's a lead generator that you don't even realize you're missing out on business, because it's going to the competition who has a better reputation or reputation profile. So you need to work on a comprehensive review campaign, okay? I encourage you guys to visit my website. I have numerous blogs on what to do and how to implement at no cost at all a review generating campaign. But that's something you need to be on top of, because your reputation, your online reputation, is the next best thing your real day-to-day reputation. So those are the three things that I think, as far as fixing your online presence, I would work on.
When you talk about the reviews, how do you initiate a review? I've seen some companies send a link to me to ask me to review their company, and then some just pop up based on my location. So how are reviews initiated?
It's a great question. It really depends on the nature of your business. But you want to, first and foremost, you need to set up your business on the profiles, on the review channels that your clientele frequent. So if you're you can get reviews on Facebook, you can get reviews on Google. If you're a restaurant, you're probably getting reviews on Yelp. If you're in the basically there are industry specific review sites, and then there are more general ones. Obviously, so you need to make sure that you have your business profile there. That's step one. The most important one from an SEO standpoint, there's no question, is your Google My Business profile. If you go into your Google My Business profile, once you create it, you actually can go into the back end. There is a link that can be generated. If you go in and it says get more reviews, that's a link that you can send out. And the beauty of that link, it goes directly to the review section of your Google My Business profile. There are studies done in that 96% of people trust online reviews. Of those 96% of people, only 6% actually take the time to leave the review. And so that means a disproportionate amount, the vast minority of people have a disproportionate effect on your business profile online. And so when they were asked, like, you depend on those reviews, yet only 6% will leave them. The two major reasons are, one, it was too difficult and tedious, and two, they forgot. So what you need to do is you have to get that review channel in front of them, okay? The easiest way, the most cost-effective way, without any of the fancy bells and whistles of a review generation tool, is going to your Google My Business profile, getting that link and get the reviews, and sharing it either by email, tweeting it out, asking for, a lot of businesses have started leveraging messaging tools, getting that link to them so that they can click and leave a review is the easiest thing. I would also encourage business, and I encourage all my clients to do this, especially if you're providing a service, right? Have it as part of your process. Okay, every part of your sales call, part of your service call, part of your process should be asking for the review. Okay, now the best time to ask for the review is often once you've met or exceeded the expectations of the customer, and then you can ask, hey, can I get a review? I have found that even better than asking once the iron's hot, but actually prefacing the interchange with, if I meet or exceed your expectations, can I count on your review? So you've done two things. You've planted the concept in the mind of the customer. Okay, A, I have expectations now. I want to see them meet it. And B, they've agreed to, yeah, if you do that, I'll leave you the review. And so then when you do, in fact, meet or exceed the expectations of the customer, because you're a good business owner and that's what you do, you're going to get a higher probability of people actually leaving you the review. So there are many, many tactics. Again, I would encourage you to visit my website. I'll give some links to some of the blogs and the information I have on this topic. But it doesn't have to cost a lot of money to implement this. Now there are sophisticated tools to really take it to the next level, but at the very least, you should have a process where you have an email campaign, a drip campaign, you know, after you've had a successful interaction.
That's very good feedback, because I think a lot of us think about the review as something a client or customer will do independently. And so to be proactive in that process is enlightening as part of what we need to do as part of our strategic sales or engagement process.
Yeah, it's critical. In today's day and age, it's critical. It's absolutely critical.
Talk to us also about target marketing. Specifically, how do we reach the decision makers when we are marketing?
Yeah, so I can talk about that a little bit. So when you look at decision makers for a product or service, obviously, you know, depending on what business or products or services you offer, that target customer is going to can vary. And you might have 3 or 4 different target customers, you know, that have different profiles that, you know, will react to your solutions in different ways. So I think, you know, kind of the first step in identifying, you know, is to identify the characteristics of that target customer. And so you can build, you know, you can call them personas, avatars, you know, but the idea here is to build characteristics of your target customer. So, you know, in our case, you know, when you look at, you know, marketing products and services, you know, we work with folks that are marketing directors in a company, you know, and we, you know, are going to align our messaging and our products and services to address the challenges that a marketing director might face, which, you know, might include, you know, the inability to, you know, manage all of their digital platforms, or they may need help with their design, you know, efforts or whatnot. They may be addressing a need that the leadership team is looking to do for the marketing, and so we might be helping them with strategy. And then a second customer, you know, might be completely different. It might be the business owner. So the business owner, you know, you want to make sure you're targeting your messaging and marketing, you know, to address the problems a business owner might face. And that might be time. We mentioned before, time, lack of budget, lack of resources, wearing too many hats. And so when you look at that overall marketing strategy, identifying the personas and the characteristics of your different customers, now you can utilize your digital platforms to be able to address those customers. And that's, you know, building content that targets those demographics. And so you might create a blog post to talk to a business owner's challenges and, you know, connect it with how your solutions address those challenges. You know, might, you know, work through and target folks on LinkedIn, creating content, putting posts out on Facebook, same thing. You can also use, you know, paid ad work, and maybe, you know, we can talk about that more too, but you can also utilize, you know, paid ads to target, you know, folks in different demographics. But, you know, really kind of the first step is to really segment. It's a strategy question, right? To segment your audience and your prospects and your customers into different personas, because, you know, typically most businesses, you know, don't have a one size fits all customer. And so once you do that, again, now you got to then align your messaging and to attack each customer in the right way. So I don't know, Nuj, if you have any.
No, I think you basically covered it, and just make sure that when you identify the decision makers, and every sales and every service has a different timeline. Like, you know, if you're a business to business, that process could be a year, and there could be multiple different people in the chain of command, so to speak, that ultimately make that decision. You need to be addressing every single one of those cogs in the you know, every single one of those links in the chain, and creating content that addresses their specific pain points, as to be mentioned. And that could be you know, again, with case studies. It could be with blog content, video content, you know, any number of different ways to convey the message. But the bottom line is you need to be resonating. Your message needs to be resonating with what they're dealing with at that time.
So what are some tips to market? Sorry, can you go back? What are some tips to market on a budget with limited time? We talked about that a little bit, but can you give us one specific thing that each business could implement immediately?
Yeah, so I think, in my mind, if you're looking at social media being one of the biggest tools that, we're all using right now, and it's really hard for a lot of folks to wrap their mind around how to utilize social media, especially if you're in a service-oriented business. I think the first step is to really focus on maybe, two platforms. You have Instagram, you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have LinkedIn, you have other platforms as well. But trying to do all platforms is going to be really hard. So my suggestion is to look at your target customer. If they're more professional, maybe you focus on LinkedIn and Facebook. If you have a very visual product or service, maybe you focus on Instagram, where you can really showcase a lot of pictures and those kind of things. But I think focusing on those two platforms and then really building out and again, I mentioned it several times already, building out that evergreen content.
Yeah.
And if anybody watching this has a question on what that is, there's a lot that goes into evergreen, that concept. Happy to share more about what that is. But I mentioned it before, building out some content pieces that you can utilize on those platforms and making sure that, you're diverse in that content as well. But the biggest recommendation here is don't do it all. Focus on those couple platforms and really do well with those couple platforms, because otherwise you're going to stretch yourself too thin and you're not going to really get the ROI on that time.
Right. And I'll just reiterate what I mentioned initially. And this speaks to, if you're looking to get found online in a local search, your most powerful tool in your toolbox that is free is your Google My Business profile. Optimizing that profile, leveraging that profile, engaging with that profile is going to give you often the leg up on the competition. I had a customer out in Youngstown, Ohio. Guy didn't even have a website. Okay. First thing we did was optimize his Google My Business profile, and we created weekly messaging for the Google posts, and we also added pictures. He's the number one source right now for his goods and services in his market, and he doesn't even have a website. That's how powerful Google My Business profile. Now, I'm not going to say that this happens across the board, because the variables are many, especially depending on what your competition is doing or what they're not doing. But I'm telling you, there's no better way to influence Google to associate you with your goods and services than through that profile. And it's free. So leverage it to the hilt.
We'll make certain that we share that link with everyone. You can create your profile and take advantage of that opportunity. Can you go to the next slide, please? We talked about the digital marketing tactics that were important to address first. How do you identify, based on your business, which is the best platform in which to engage? So Naveen, you talked about identifying 1 to 2 platforms on which to focus, but how do you as a business identify which of those is best for you to focus?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's obviously a tough question. I mean, this is where you have to look at your overall, customer segments and your marketing strategy and your products and services. And so, before you do any marketing, digital, whatever you do, you've really got to understand who your customer is and where they're found. So, Nuge mentioned, Google's obviously always going to be there, and you've got to always invest, that time into Google and making sure that you're found. But when you look at like social media platforms, I mentioned before, different folks engage in different ways on different platforms. So, LinkedIn and Facebook are pretty prevalent throughout. Most folks are using those platforms. But LinkedIn, you're looking at a more professional group. You might have different content on there as well, more advisory in nature. Whereas Facebook, you might be promoting, different events and programs and give more of a brand feel to the company. And obviously in both platforms, you can utilize ads on both platforms. But how to identify the platforms that work well for you is really just a matter of, understanding who your customer is and where they're found. And once you know that, it's really, then the second step is, I guess, understanding the platforms, understanding what platforms, work well with what content and all that. But I always tell you, you got to take that first step in understanding the customer.
So right now, everyone is in this sort of virtual remote reality and working. And so our online presence is even more critical than it was prior to COVID-19. How does a business pivot from brick and mortar to really engaging with its clients on the social media platform or just on online platforms in general?
Yeah, I don't know. Meet, you want to take this one first?
Okay, and so are we talking? We're talking about what creative pivots a person can do? Okay, so there are a few ways for a business to transition to the digital realm, and the most engaging way is video content. And I mentioned that before. It doesn't require a huge investment. Get yourself a cell phone, have an idea of what you're going to do, and then get out there and promote. People engage with video more than any other platform. And so you can do a live video, let's say on Facebook Live, right? That's a great way of engaging with customers or potential clients. You can create any of the evergreen content that Naveen mentioned before. You can use that evergreen content to create blogs, but you can also create video blogs, right? And basically take your blog and take your content and make a video out of it. We just started doing that recently. I wrote a series of blogs, and now we're creating 10 pieces of video content based on a single blog. And you can really get a lot of mileage, and again, people engage with video. Another fantastic way that you as a business can leverage the digital realm is podcasting. It's become unbelievably popular, podcasting, and it can be on obviously you as a business, is your business expertise, but it should and it should extend to other dovetail businesses. I'll give you an example. I am a member of BNI, and one of my BNI members, she's Katie the car lady. She sells new and used cars. She has a dealership, whatever it is. She has a podcast that she invites other businesses in some even if it's just a very ancillary connection, but if there's some sort of connection to her business or concerns that her customers will have, she gets these people on. So she has bankers on there to talk about financing. She has an elder care lawyer to talk about the kind of cars that perhaps a person with elderly parents maybe. Bottom line is the opportunity for conversation is wide open, and you can have a conversation with another professional that's engaging, and people people actually love podcasts. And then I would say another important way to pivot is to optimize your website for voice search optimization. It's the biggest challenge we have in search optimization right now is more and more people are engaging with digital voice apparatuses like your Alexa or your Siri or the digital assistants, Cortana, and so when people are using them in their homes, in their cars, on their phones, they're all over the place. The problem is, and the challenge for you as a business, is that typically they only respond with one result. Siri, where can I get garlic knots at this hour, right? And it's only going to be one result, right? So the challenge you have as a business is to make sure that you're optimizing your content on your website for voice search. And that's a whole new frontier, if you will. But that's definitely a way for a business if they invest in it now, because most people are not doing it. And so if you as a business have the foresight to invest in that now, you're going to dominate the voice search in your vertical for a long time to come.
Yeah, and I think you've already hit at one of the things that I was going to mention, which is video, but also virtual platforms. So even we're on Zoom right now, right? So utilizing video and virtual platforms, this time has kind of allowed us all to be more innovative and creative in how we utilize these tools. I know for us, we weren't utilizing these tools, as much as we are now. And I know going forward, we're going to continue to use them. And I think we're going to pair in the in-person experiences with the virtual experiences. A lot of us are missing that ability to interact on a personal level in person, but, with the virtual platforms, with tools such as Zoom or other tools that are out there, you can, create these webinars and demos, showcase your products and services, maybe do like a 5-minute demo of one of your products or services, and share that, on your website through social media. Record the videos, Nooch mentioned before, quick videos, personal, sharing information, share it through social media, set up virtual office hours. And so, if you have a service-oriented business and, you want to make sure that you're in front of folks on a regular basis, maybe set up a virtual office hours where folks can schedule appointments with you, and, you can do virtual meetings, or you can have like a, info session where folks can actually, sign up, have your conversation, talk about your products and services. And so utilizing these tools to get, your products and services in front of folks is actually, I would almost contend it's almost made it, with us being more creative, it's almost easier, because we're actually now using the tools that are allowing us to be more efficient, get folks in front of things, get folks in front of us very easily and quickly. One of the barriers in the past, at least, for us and many people is, if you're meeting in person, you're going to allocate 2 hours to a meeting, because you're driving to that location, you're meeting in person, you're driving back. Whereas here you can be really efficient and, have those quick conversations to really qualify somebody. Secondly, another creative pivot, this actually goes beyond just digital, but it's really building partnerships. And so I really recommend folks, when they look at, other businesses that they may have a connection with in some way, whether it's a related product or service, or whether it's a similar demographic that they service, is to figure out ways to establish partnerships, and then, incorporate digital in leveraging that partnership. So, for example, you might set up a partnership with a company that has a related product or service. You might have them do a guest blog on your website, promote that promotes them. They then share it, that promotes your website. And so, you're getting traction with their customer base that is now being drawn into your website, and vice versa. That company is now being drawn into your demographic. and your customers and your folks that already engage with you. So now you've grown your pie. You've grown the number of people that, are hearing your message and that you're connecting with. And you can do that in your blog. You can have an email newsletter, maybe if you do a newsletter, have a guest blog, have a guest blog from one of your partners. Great way to cross promote. And same thing, ask them, hey, if you do a newsletter, I'd love to have a guest blog. And, again, cross promote on social media. And that's again, going to reach markets more efficiently and broaden your reach. And the last thing, you might want to consider is, using marketing automation. And so, we talk about, those drip campaigns, those ways that folks actually, that you can target in a more efficient way through email and building landing pages. And I know we're kind of cutting close on time here. So if anybody has a question on marketing automation, there's a whole discussion around what that's about. But I think setting up these automation campaigns will help you be really efficient in meeting folks. And this is the time to do it because, it takes time to set these up properly. And so I recommend folks really investigate how automation works and how they can use it, getting with an expert that can actually offer it.
Nooch, did you have any last words that you wanted to add to that?
Is this the end of the seminar?
We are coming up. Actually, we're past the hour. If there are any,
I just wanted to address one specific type of business. If you're a service area business, okay, there's a particular in this COVID era. There's the interaction that we normally did beforehand has had to be curtailed, and understandably so. And so we as a business, as a service area business, you have to be able to convey how you're going to provide safe on-site services. So the first thing, foremost, you have to develop a no contact service policy. How you're going to how your team members are going to be wearing gloves and masks and et cetera, what are the protocols, and then publish those policies to your website, have a dedicated COVID-19 page and banner on your website that details all of these policies, publish it to your Google My Business and your Facebook pages, incorporate online scheduling. That's something to be mentioned. So that way, again, somebody can actually schedule a service without an in-person talk. Also, have a live chat feature on your website. Again, interact with the customers remotely. Provide remote consultations. Not everything has to be in person. So, like Naveen said, hold video meetings with client, or even diagnose issues. If you're a plumber, you can actually have the customer videotape or show you on Zoom exactly what the issue is, and you can diagnose it in advance. So that way, again, when you come on site, you're minimizing the interaction as much as possible. I know a dentist that I'm working with with marketing, he's developed an app to do just that, so that he can actually do remote consultations with his patients. Share pre-service safety tips so that a client can prepare their home or site themselves, and again, so that way minimize that interaction as much as possible, and keep everybody safe, and publish those safety protocols on your website and all of the digital platforms that matter. Another thing is accept digital signatures and payments. That you don't have to have any more signing of paperwork or the like, you can do it all now digitally. So there are many, many things that you can do as a business, if you're a service area business, to minimize the exposure risk while keeping both the client and your team members safe.
All of this has been very good information. I'm sure it's a lot to take in at one time, but we definitely appreciate what you provided. We want to remind everyone that at the conclusion of this webinar, we will share and make available this recording as well as the slide presentation. We also encourage each person to please contact the President's Council via email, phone, or web, and follow us on our social media platforms to like, follow, and share, as well as comment and post your questions that will help us to serve you. Additionally, at the conclusion of this webinar, there will be a poll survey. We ask each of you to please complete that poll survey, from which we will select 3 businesses to receive services from Outreach Promotional or Local Biz Guru based on your business needs at the expense of the President's Council. This is our commitment to our members that we will help your businesses sustain and grow. Again, thank you to Nooch and Naveen for all of your expert information. I have
Fabulous.
to both of their websites, and we will also make certain that post-webinar that we provide their contact information. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and have a very safe and blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.